Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Mind Over Money, a show where we talk on ways how meditation, yoga, and behavioral science can help you become a better and more efficient trader, investor, as well as a better human being. Well, my name is Shatajanand, and today we have with us a very special guest, Sachin Shah, who's a fund manager at Emkay Investment Managers Limited. Welcome to the show, Sachin.
Thank you, Kshitij. Thank you very much. It's a privilege and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Sachin, now with decades of experience in equity markets and managing money at the same time, how do you keep yourself mentally fit?
Yeah, Kshitij. So, actually, you're right. I started my journey in 1998, my professional journey in 1998, and will be completing 25 years in Indian listed equity markets very soon.
Right.
There is no doubt that in the listed space, the pain of the mark-to-market losses, the notional losses, is very high, and it's also very
Mm.
regular. Right.
Right.
Being an active public fund manager, even challenges of underperformance to the benchmark indices, to the peer group, all of that just can't be replaced. And, it is during such times the litmus test of one's mental fitness actually comes into play, right?
Right.
So over a period of time, I have evolved, with some basic routines,
Mhm.
both in working style and also for my emotional support system. Because as I think, or actually, in fact, I now believe that in the stock
Mhm.
markets, EQ plays a very, very critical role, right? The emotion quotient, right?
Okay.
And typically, when it comes to stock markets or portfolio management or whichever you look at it, I think it's the temperament and the discipline, which is what really puts the differentiate the men versus the boys, right?
Right. Right.
So the basics that I have evolved is one is having a clear conscience, strong faith in the Almighty allows me to ride during these rough patches in a much smoother fashion. With
Mm.
almost, the idea is that whatever can happen in the portfolios, but that impact you can't be carrying home, right? So on people
Right.
around between family or even with your colleagues in office, it
Mhm.
shouldn't impact that behavior of yours. No, I also tend to take breaks, go out for a walk in open air, away from all the noise, because it not only allows to relax, but I'm also able to think through in a much balanced fashion, right? There are also certain other basics that I've involved around my working style, right? So, like for example, in the listed space, right, one of the basic challenges when the markets are in a cyclical downturn and portfolio values tend to actually have decent mark to market notional losses.
Mm.
uh, and again, I learned this during the meltdown of 2008 2009. I
Yeah.
realized that when it comes to investing, somewhere the risk management starts at the time of purchase, right?
Right.
Basically having discipline of quality,
Mm.
quality of owning quality businesses, owning quality managements, and also buying them at reasonable valuation. Because what I've
Mm.
seen is that the two big mistakes that investors do at least in the stock markets. One is the big mistake of buying into wrong management, right? Because once
Right.
that blunder is there, if you're with the if you're with the management where there are challenges of
Mm.
integrity, there are challenges in terms of the corporate governance,
Mm.
somewhere or the other, you're going to get a big hit. And the other big loss is in terms of your purchase price. So if you get the wrong valuations, even if it's a good quality business, there's a very good probability for a longer period of time you will underperform big time, right? So these are
Right.
two big mistakes that I would like to avoid. And
Mm.
but basically, if you have got the right quality of businesses, if you have whatever reasonable valuations, and then even when there's a cyclical down in the
Mm. Mm.
markets, you know that the prices are today down, but you know the underlying intrinsic value of the asset that you own, and
Right.
that
Right.
allows you to believe that the current lower prices are very temporary,
Mm.
and this shall pass through. So that's how I've got evolved myself.
Right. I think for that as well, like you already pointed out that you need that strong EQ or emotional quotient, to brave away from these difficult times. And that's when we tend to get emotionally involved with our own investments and tend to think that no, no, this is a better one, or or we end up losing the faith in our own picks or in our own investment. So yes, very true, and definitely you put it right in a very brief manner. And I'm sure our viewers who are watching the show right now, they do they sort of note it down as to what needs to be done, especially when there are rough waters. Now, also, very few people can start the day as early as probably you said that you start your day pretty early. So what is your daily regime? Do let us know about that as well.
Yeah, Kshitij, actually, I generally tend to get up anytime between 4 or 5 in the morning, 4 a.m. to
Okay.
5 a.m., and maybe at least 4 days a week, right?
Wow.
And
Okay.
it is during this actually first 2 3 hours, it's
Mm,
easy for me to focus on my reading,
mm,
as there is absolutely no distraction from anywhere. Be it phone calls,
mm.
internal office meetings, no noises from the markets, or even distraction from family, friends, etc. It's not there. Those 2 3 hours, it's completely mine. So it's very easy
Right.
for me to focus on what I want to do. Right.
Mm,
Also, it's an ideal sweet spot because whether we like it or not, we are a very interconnected world today. So
yeah.
one, tends to catch up with the global news and markets, as by the time they would have closed. And also when you actually not only catch up with those news and whatever is happening over the global markets,
Mm,
you
mm,
also have time to actually process, right, to those thoughts before our Indian markets actually open around 9 o'clock, right?
mm.
So that's a very good sweet spot that I have found for myself, and it has worked brilliantly for me over the last, at least I would say, 7 to 9 years.
Right.
Uh, then of course, once you are in office, then it's like any other regular day where you are interacting with your team, deliberating on various investment ideas, business models,
Yeah.
and also spend some time interacting with clients. So then it's a very regular routine day. But it's this 4 3 hours of the day, which is where I think is most productive for me.
Right. So it sort of help you to kickstart things, in a manner.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. And also, do you play any sport as well, Sachin? If I may
Yes.
ask.
No, no, absolutely. Yes. And actually, every weekend mornings, I play tennis. And
Okay.
I also try to play once or twice in the late evening during the weekdays. So,
Gotcha.
I try to play tennis at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Mm,
Weekend
mm.
mornings are dedicated for tennis, actually. That's
Okay.
very clear, unless I'm traveling. And
Right.
I thoroughly enjoy playing the game. In fact, it's something that I'm always looking forward practically every weekend.
Wow. No, okay. So tennis is something which I can understand, but I've also heard that you also play chess, and how did that develop as a habit?
Yeah, that is, so, of course, I've always played chess when we were in school and when we were in college and all of that.
Right. Right.
But,
Right.
I started playing chess actually when my son started taking the coaching lessons for his chess, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
to give him more practice, right, I used to
Uh-huh.
play with him. And it is during some of those games, because he's taking coaching and he learns certain strategies, he tries to
Right.
apply
Right.
those strategies they're playing. So it
Yeah.
is during some of those games, I evolved some of the strategic thinking
Right.
to apply it for my game of tennis. And of course,
Okay.
somewhere even when you're working, right? But I tried to apply some of the strategies that we were playing in the chess in my
Mm,
game of
mm.
tennis. So it may actually sound funny what's the connection between tennis and chess, but it did work for me.
Right. Well, that's a new one for me as well. I'm sure, viewers, if you have any, I'm sure, you can, viewers can also comment on this particular thing. And if they've also experienced any similarity, do let us know as well in your comment box. Now, how important is for investors to stay mentally fit? We've talked so much about why mental fitness is required, especially when you are with the equity markets and leadership roles. So, if you can brief us on that as well.
I think it is super critical. I think
Super good.
it is compulsory to my mind. In
Mhm.
fact, it is what will differentiate between the men and the boys to my mind.
Okay.
Because investing is much a game of temperament and discipline, as I mentioned earlier. And
Mm.
in fact, in today's day and age of free flowing information, research, I think the only edge one will be left will be on how one is able to actually capture the volatility of the market. right?
Right.
They say there are two certain things about markets. First, they will always go up in the long term.
Mm.
Second, they will go up and down both in the both in the short to medium term, right?
Right.
And it is during the short term volatilities, the
Mm.
opportunities are created for buying at attractive valuations
Mm.
and also selling opportunities during those euphoric valuation kind of moments, right? These are times which gives investors to earn that extraordinary returns, right?
Mm.
And that's the function of your mental fitness, because it's not only mental, it's about your temperament, to my mind, and of course that comes only from the
Right.
mental fitness. So I think it's super critical.
Super critical. That's a word coming there from Sachin. And lastly, what would be your mental and healthy advice to investors for the year 2023?
Well, Kshitij, I think one of the very, I just mentioned that it's important, it's super critical to have the mental
Super.
fitness, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you need to have the right temperament and all. But you know what? The question is, how does one remain? How does one get evolved into that? So,
Mm.
to my
Mm.
mind, and at least in my personal experience,
Mm.
I think the big thing is all about getting the asset allocation
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Wherever big mistakes by investors is when they do misallocations. Okay, when they tend to go overweight on equities when they can't afford to be,
Right.
right? Or they get carried away with the market euphoria and they don't know
Mm.
what is
Mm.
their exposure to the equities, right? And then when there's a mark to market loss or when there's actual meltdown, that's when they realize, oh my God, I have no other savings, or this is where I'm got badly stuck, those kind of things, right? So my sense is, as I said, that it's all starts at the time of purchase. Similarly, asset allocation is also the first thing that the investor should be very careful about
Mm.
and be very clear, because the market we are living in a VUCA world, which is
Mm.
we are volatile, uncertain,
Mm.
complex, ambiguity, everything,
Right.
right?
Right.
This way it's going to remain. We can't escape that. This will. I
Mm.
mean, we've seen COVID, and something else will. We see 2008, 9. Then we saw COVID, and in the middle there were 2, 3 other big events which were
Mm.
some serious challenges. And this will keep on happening in some or the other fashion. But during these times, the
Mm.
only way the investor is able to digest it, and not only digest it but also capitalize it to
Mm.
their advantage, is when you have an asset allocation. So
Okay.
to my mind, the asset allocation is very critical. Every investor needs to decide for themselves or take help of
Mm.
some financial advisors, and get their asset allocation right, which is the foundation to keep your mental fitness right, at least in the financial perspective.
Right. So I think that's the word coming there. Asset allocation remains to be a critical thing for investors in the year 2023 as well. Anyways, it's an important thing, but definitely do take care of asset allocation in the coming year as well. On that note, thank you so much for your time, Sachin. And that's all for now. But do stay log on to ET Markets for more on news, business, and economy. Again, thank you so much for your time, Sachin.
Thank you, Kshitij. Thank you so much.